What a month it has been for us wrestling fans. I am Roberto Duke. Welcome to the Wasting Your Time podcast. With me, as always, is the CEO and creator of the Wasting Your Time podcast, John Wilson. J-Dub, tell him to make sure that you know that you're alive.
I'm definitely alive. It's been an interesting month in the world of professional wrestling. But before we get into that, the Wasting Your Time podcast can be found on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and probably a bunch of other places. So please rate and subscribe and just listen to the show. Yeah, that's the spiel. Before we get into what it's you went to the Hitman game on the weekend, Bobby. How was the wrestling after?
It was actually quite interesting. It was my very first time going to a PWA show. The guys and girls who were there were fantastic. They're great workers. They're showcase a lot of good stuff. It was cool to see wrestling in the Saddle Dome again. It was cool to see a ring set up on the ice. That was actually quite neat. I got to see Michael Blaze do a big dive off the entryway. I was just a couple rows behind, so I was able to capture that.
I only mentioned that because I saw you posted it on.
Yeah.
That's why I'm bringing it
Yeah,
up.
I think I was the first person to post that dive, so it got a lot of eyes on it. So that was pretty cool. Even talked to MRB a little bit afterwards online. So yeah, so I might try to weasel my way into a working relationship with him. Let's see if I can maybe get some
former
t-shirt designs.
Yeah, former Kenta squash match victim.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's right.
he can put that on his resume. He faced Kenta.
Yeah, exactly.
Who cares if it was a squash match? Anyway, it's been a hell of a month. We've taken a nice break from we've been watching, but we've taken a nice break from talking about it. And there's a lot to get into. Let's start with the news, and it's all WWE news. I believe, what was it, the Money in the Bank episode? We basically had this conversation where in the 6 weeks after WrestleMania, everything went to shit. I don't think anything's gone more to shit than the last month of what's happened with the WWE. And it's not just bad TV, it's everything. I can't remember.
It's true, man.
I can't remember a worse month on record for them.
Yeah, I wholeheartedly agree.
Let's take it back to the beginning of the month where we are kind of hopefully optimistic about what was ahead for the future of the WWE. Oh, how naive we were. So let's start with the beginning of the month. We touched on it the last show, but they did their first show in the Wednesday Night War. They got crushed by AEW.
Which was to be expected.
It was expected. But we
figured that was going to happen.
I think we thought that it was an outlier, though. It was just kind of an outlier. And then SmackDown got almost 4 million views for the first episode on Fox. And then let's talk about the Hell in the Cell finish. Oh boy. I can't remember a crowd more angry of what had transpired in front of their eyes. I can't even. Can you remember a crowd that hostile on a finish?
Probably Royal Rumble, I think 2015 or 2014.
That wasn't a finish because that was basically the whole match. Because once Daniel Bryan got eliminated, that was like a solid hour of them shitting on it. Like once the bell rang in the Hell in a Cell for officially non-finish, but everybody thought it was disqualification in a match with no disqualifications. Oh boy, what was there? There was refund chants. There was restart the match. AEW chants. Oh boy,
the infamous Seth Rollins is not cool sign in confrontation with that fan.
I completely forgot about that.
I hate to say it, but I mean, like, I saw that coming a mile away. Like, they didn't prepare this show. It just seemed like it was something that
going into
they had to throw together.
Sunday morning, there was still only 3 matches.
Yeah.
Then on like a span of tweets, there was like 7 more matches announced. That whole show, yeah, that was outside the opening 2 matches, which were like the highly regarded matches of the night. Everything went to shit after that, but it gets worse. That's this week 1 of the month. Week 2 saw the disappointment of what was the WWE draft, critically panned everywhere. Basically, everybody that was already on their assigned rosters from Superstar Shakeup just got drafted back to their rosters with like a few shakeups here and there.
Like ones that I was happy with. I think the only one I was happy was Randy Orton was on Raw, and then all of a sudden they put Kevin Owens on Raw, which made no freaking sense to me, and he's barely been seen since.
He's been seen once. Came with the draft disappointment. SmackDown dropped 1 million viewers, and I think that was kind of expected. Like 1 million was probably about the average I was expecting it to drop. But in the fallout of that, 3 days later, WWE fires Eric Bischoff from his job as executive director of SmackDown, replaced by Bruce Pritchard.
Oh boy!
On the job for 4 months,
and it's hard to give a reason why, because didn't seem like there was much of an influence. You didn't see much of an Eric Bischoff influence on any of the shows, and from what we've heard, it's still kind of a mystery as to what he was actually doing on the shows.
Maybe we'll find that out at StarCast, because he's got a panel.
Yeah,
there,
you never know.
But yeah, 4 months on the job.
And really, I wanted to be shocked, but I was just like, okay, yeah, that makes sense that would happen.
I was expecting this 2 months from now.
I just didn't. Yeah, exactly. I just thought it would be maybe in the new year.
Yeah.
Give the guy a chance to kind of turn things around and have some sort of influence on the show.
Even put like an idea towards the show.
Mm-hmm.
Not like totally.
Because
not
because I always knew that it'd have to be Vince would have to be running SmackDown for a bit in order to get his ideas out there until they got the plateau ratings, and then he can give the reins to Bischoff in order to get his vision on there. I always knew that was going to happen, but I mean, I don't even think they even got Bischoff even to give out any ideas.
Nope. Apparently, he hired a writer from some show, and then that writer was asleep in the writer's room during the day. That's the only thing I heard about Bischoff, his influence on the show. That only brings us to about half the month. Then came the weekend after the Bischoff firing, the whole Jordan Miles situation with the T-shirt design. We're not the people to discuss this. It's just bad,
Well,
who approved that?
I can say a couple of things. 'Cause I mean, if I was on a white shirt, I probably wouldn't have noticed the thing.
Mm-hmm.
I would have just noticed that this is a really shitty design, but whatever, if that's what you're choosing to. Because I mean, even just at first glance on the black shirt, I didn't really see it, because also I didn't know who Jordan Miles was.
Formerly
and then when I
knew
who it was, and then when I saw the shirt, and then when I knew who it was, I took a closer look at the shirt. I was like, oh, I see it now. Wow, that's awful.
Yeah, and apparently he hasn't. Adding on to that, then he started attacking other people in different companies, including Jay Lethal, calling him a thing that we will not say on this podcast, because that's not what we're going to do, and I don't want to get in trouble. So his message kind of got mixed up because he was attacking other people for no apparent reason. And apparently he hasn't been seen at the Performance Center in months, and hasn't been on any of the house shows in months. So nobody knows what's going on with that.
Well, see, granted, he has a legitimate beef, but it's also something that should be taken care of behind the scenes. It shouldn't be something that is all over social media and the message gets mixed up.
Correct.
Like, I'm sure if he wasn't with the company, then yeah, go for it. But he's with the company. We don't know how it worked with Vince and Triple H, if they even had a say in all this. I know there's reports that say that Triple H was involved. But again, it's he said, she said. It's kind of one of those things you kind of can't get in the middle of, because you just don't know all the entire scenario.
This is also coming in the same months where your first black WWE champion was basically jobbed out in 5 seconds.
Yes, can we talk about that too?
Oh, I was going to get to that.
We're getting to that. Okay, perfect.
That's why this is bringing it in. This is bringing it in.
Okay.
I was winding it.
I've got some things.
There was a reason why I didn't talk about it. I was waiting for this part of the conversation. Because, yes, WWE has kind of a diversity problem. And having a disgruntled employee with a clearly very racist-looking T-shirt, in the same month you job out your very popular, very... clearly he was very successful for you. He was probably selling a lot of merch and stuff. And It was a great story leading into WrestleMania, and you completely undid that entire story in 5 seconds just because Fox wanted Brock Lesnar to win, basically. It's bad optics.
And then just to set up a match with Cain Velasquez that same breath.
That's getting into the later on. It's a multi-pronged attack against the WWE this month.
All by their own doing, which is
this is
absolutely ridiculous.
This is death by 1,000 paper cuts of their own self-infliction. I mean, yeah, Cain Velasquez, he did some AAA stuff, and it was he was talking to the WWE, but I didn't expect him to come in this early. I was expecting like a WrestleMania type thing.
Yeah, because I was looking forward to like a program between Brock Lesnar and Rey Mysterio, because I thought that would be fantastic. And then maybe if that led to a Velasquez later on, then sure. But I mean, right off the bat, and we can talk a little bit of Crown Jewel when it happens. But yeah, all the stuff that came.
We'll get there. Give us a couple minutes. Yeah.
But no, back to Kofi. Like that was ridiculous.
I think that was the only sour taste that, because otherwise the SmackDown on Fox premiere was fun. I thought it was a fun show, and then I kept checking my watch, like, holy shit, it's getting closer and closer to the hour. And then you get that sinking feeling in your gut, you know it's coming. Yeah. Like, the closer it got to the hour, you knew how short this match was going to be. But you like, any of the positives that Kofi's title reign had, you chumped it out.
It's true.
Because he looks like an idiot just jumping into Brock Lesnar.
Yeah.
And then you just drop him down right back into where he was before.
And then he loses. He's swept under the rug because after that, you didn't really hear anything about Kofi wanting his revenge and wanting to get back into the title picture. He just kind of went right back to the mid card, even below the mid card.
And now
he's in the tag team division.
Yeah,
so
now
that's even lower.
With Woods out for a year now too, and now he's stuck with Big E. Although I don't think being stuck with Big E is a bad thing. And
it's not a negative, but being in the tag team division after just having the WWE Championship, the top title, being on all these different shows and being like the face of the company for half the year, and now just disappeared all. That is a big demotion. It's so disheartening to see.
So that brings us. That was week 3 of the WWE's terrible month. To cap off that week 3, AEW beat SmackDown in the ratings.
Yeah, that was incredible.
To be fair, they moved from it was the world, like, there is outliers. The World Series was on, and they did move to a smaller network for that. But still, AEW beat SmackDown. You're like a show now, be it for 1 week. Because everybody dropped that. Basically that World Series, everybody dropped ratings and stuff. Like, what was it? Last Wednesday, what was it? 750 for
Yeah, there
AEW,
wasn't even 1 million viewers for AEW.
What was it, like 550,000 for NXT? And there was like 23 million for the World Series.
Well, it's kind of cool that the gap between the two shows isn't that huge anymore.
I think it's going to get closer this week.
It's definitely going to be. It's definitely closer this week. I hope it is, because I mean, there is a lot of buzz around NXT right now. So
we'll get there. We're almost there. So AEW beat SmackDown in the ratings, which is not a good look when SmackDown doesn't even draw 1 million people for a week, and you have Brock Lesnar on the show, Cain Velasquez. You have all these big things on the show, and it doesn't even draw 1 million. Then the beginning of Halloween Day. Oh, we're here. We're at Crown Jewel now. Beginning of the quarter 3 results, everything down. I think they the stock dropped I think the stock dropped like $12 that day.
Yeah, I think I heard $10 to $12.
Stock drops, just a completely negative outlook for the quarter 3. But it turns out because Saudi Arabia didn't pay for Super Showdown yet, which leads us to Crown Jewel, which I didn't watch, but it was pretty skippable. Thoughts on Crown Jewel?
I didn't watch it. I didn't care. I wanted to say I was kind of shocked with the Universal title change, but again, it kind of needed to do that. I didn't think they would, because I thought for sure this would be the chance to just pass Bray Wyatt away and say goodbye to the Fiend for a bit, because yeah, I'm still not a fan of the Fiend.
That's why I was mostly so we didn't have to talk about the Fiend. The only thing I will say about the Fiend, apparently he's getting a custom Universal title, and I'm all for like any wrestler getting their own custom versions of their titles, because the eco-friendly title was an interesting twist on it. So anything that makes the kind of blandness of the WWE title stick out a little bit better is A-OK in my books. Regardless of what you think of the character, whenever they make like weird changes to the titles, it's kind of interesting to me.
Nope, like I said, I don't care for the Fiend.
I know, like whatever you think of, like just whenever they change the title up, it's interesting to me.
No, I hate when they change the titles. I never liked the Smoking Skull belt. Granted, I like the eco-friendly belt because that was a clean looking design, but other than that, I don't care. It's kind of, I find it disrespectful to change the championship belts just to appease one superstar.
Well, it's clearly to sell merch.
And of course it is. Of course it's to sell merch, but I just don't like it.
So the Crown Jewel happened, and then all the interesting stuff happened after Crown Jewel, where basically the majority of the roster was trapped in Saudi Arabia for a day and a half, basically. Oh boy, where to begin on this one?
Like, what the fuck were they thinking about booking those guys for the next day? Like, unfucking believable. Like, I'm a big proponent for having the talent, booked less and less and less so that their bodies can give a chance to heal. Like, one of the things on that quarter financials was that the house shows are losing so much money. And it's like, why are you even booking for house shows? Because we all know house shows are just lame excuses to watch the same shit you just watched on TV, but live in person. Nothing really actually ever happens, so it's kind of pointless to go. Unless you're in some sort of a market that doesn't get this all the time. But a lot of these house show markets, they get them once or twice a year. So, of course, people are going to get burned out by wanting to go and not show up. So the fact that, yeah, there's guys who have to work Saturday, Sunday, Monday, sometimes on Tuesday, fly out for a day, and then have to travel back. Like, that's a ridiculous schedule. But then to add on top of flying 30 hours back and forth to a foreign country where they don't even want to be in most of the time, have to work a show, and then have to be back to do TV, and then probably the house show circuit right afterwards. Like, that's unfucking believable.
I don't believe there's house shows this weekend.
I hope not.
Because the UK tour is this weekend, so I think they gave them.
Yeah, and then they're going to the UK now. So like unbelievable. Like, this is disgusting that they're making these guys do this. And the fact, there was a happy accident that what we got from SmackDown was what we got, but it shouldn't have been done that way to begin with. It was just unbelievable that these guys had to go through whatever they've gone through. And there's so much back and forth about this topic that it's hard to see.
Do you want to talk about some of the rumor innuendo on that one?
Yeah, let's talk about it, man.
I think my personal favorite is Vince McMahon getting into the argument with the Saudi government, withholding the show till he gets the money that he's owed for Super Showdown. Then, because it was supposed to air live on like Saudi TV and stuff, so it's delayed 40 minutes. So then once the show's over, he books it out of the country. And then his superstars basically get forced off a plane for mechanical issues. And I know this is an audio podcast, but I'm using air quotes for mechanical issues.
Because, we're given mechanical issues. There's also talks that the pilots shifts got timed out, and the mechanical people's time got timed out, so we had to wait on the plane. Like, there's so many things that were getting said by so many different people.
I mean, that is a thing. The pilots there is timeouts for shifts, and so
yes, exactly.
With delay, like, this was a charter flight, so this it was only meant for the WWE superstars and the crew and stuff. So if the flight gets canceled, they have to resubmit the flight plan for like the next day and stuff. So like those kind of things that kind of incorporates the delay and stuff like that. So that's why they're kind of stuck there for 24. That's the official story from the WWE. Because if a flight gets canceled, they have to they can't just bring another plane in. They have to reschedule this flight plan and stuff like that. So that is one of the reasons they probably got stuck there, is because if the pilot's timed out, they can't fly. They're legally not allowed to fly. They can lose their pilot's license if they're flying past their hours for the day. That's my favorite rumor, that Vince McMahon got into basically threaten the show if they
of all people on the planet. Vince McMahon is the one who's going up against a fucking dictator about money. Like, that's, say what you will about Vince. I know I've said a lot, but I mean that's pretty hardcore.
Every dollar,
70 some
I want every single dollar.
Like, to throw the set of balls on him.
I want all the money, or you won't get this good shit.
Yeah, fucking unreal. Such disaster. Like, my God.
It's been a disaster all weekend for them, because basically they're, to quote, basically their talent was used in a dick swinging competition as pawns. They were pawns in a dick swinging competition. But then on Monday, the Saudi government and the WWE.
But first, allegedly, this is all happening.
But on Monday, they announced they're expanding their agreement. Everything is good. Apparently, the Saudi government has paid for the next 2 shows. They've paid all the way through the end of 2020. So all that money's up front.
Yeah, because it was weird, because they were saying that it's going until 2027. It's like, well, wasn't it always going until 2027? It's a 10-year contract.
Yeah.
I think the thing that they're extending is that instead of the one for sure show, I think they're expanding it now to 2 or 3.
I can't remember.
Like, for sure that they're going to be doing 2 shows.
Apparently February is the next Saudi show, featuring a card of maybe 6 people.
Yeah, because I'm sure there's going to be a lot of guys who are going to try to invoke something that they don't want to go.
Let's talk about that.
So I'm sure we're going to get lots of Roman Reigns versus Seth Rollins, because they're WWE for life.
Let's talk about the happy accident that was SmackDown that came out of all the travel delays and stuff. Apparently, the NXT people didn't get to Buffalo till like 5 minutes before the show started.
I think they had a police escort to get them to the venue.
Yep. But it turned into a happy accident of a show. What universe would you expect that you would see Adam Cole defending the NXT Championship against Daniel Bryan on a random Friday SmackDown in November?
It does not happen.
In a 20-plus minute match. Mm-hmm. And Adam Cole beating Daniel Bryan clean.
Yeah, because it went through like at least 2 commercial breaks.
Correct.
So, I mean, that's a long TV match.
Yeah. Funny thing is, ratings went up.
Yeah.
Something about WWE, when their backs are against the wall, they'll just throw something out, and it will be widely entertaining. I mean,
yeah. So I mean, the cool thing about this one was the fact that this was Triple H's pitch was to do this thing, and in fact, I think they were supposed to do this angle on Monday, but because they got screwed over.
I'm assuming Vince didn't get until like 2 or 3 in the afternoon that day. So
yeah,
Triple H was pretty much running everything, and Vince just probably said, "Okay, do what you want."
Yeah, because the one dude who took over commentary, I can't remember his name off the top of my head.
Oh, Pat McAfee. McAfee.
Who?
Pat McAfee.
Yes, him. He was on. I think he was on a podcast or on his own show.
Yeah.
Where he said that he got the call like 4 hours before showtime to come to SmackDown. Yeah.
And he had to borrow
he was going back and forth. Yeah. Colts plane to get there, and then go to Memphis for game day. But he was saying like Triple H was on the phone with him and with Vince to make sure this was all going to work out. So I don't think Vince was even there
he was at the show
until super late.
Yeah, he didn't get until
super late though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there was a
this was a Triple H book show. Like, I think from top to bottom.
Yeah, there is.
It's a good thing that Triple H knows Vince and knows how to book in order for Vince to like it. So that's why it was still a great show, because it's Triple H and he knows what to do. and just the commentary team that they all had together, that was fantastic. They did such a great job. So I'm sure they didn't have Vince yelling at them the entire time.
He was probably sleeping. He was just sleeping in his chair.
Yeah. Or he was talking to the Saudi government to say, "What the fuck? Why aren't my guys on the plane?
Where's my
money? Where's my
Roman?
Where's my production crew?
I need Roman."
So I mean, from top to bottom, that SmackDown run by Triple H with his chosen guys to work, I really, really, really hope that this is something that the Fox executives, and with such a huge pop with the crowd, with the ratings, through numbers for the network, the amount of social media talk about this one SmackDown, like it totally overshadowed anything that Crown Jewel was putting together. It kind of silenced any of the naysayers from the past month. This is the biggest gleaming beacon of hope we've gotten from WWE in a long time.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'll tell you this past month, I have been so close to just saying screw wrestling, because it's not getting any better. It's getting worse and worse and worse. I can't stand this product anymore. But now they suck me back in because of the SmackDown. So I really hope the showcasing of what they did on SmackDown is going to be a big kick in the ass for Vince to maybe lay off a bit and let guys who know what they're doing and who are talented enough to produce his product better and to get these numbers back up, because we've gotten it in December, we've gotten it in July. Like, we keep on getting these lulls of uninspired stuff.
I mean, we did get the watered down version of it last night of the NXT invasion, but
yeah, that's with Vince in charge. So I mean, I'm sure he just copied and pasted what Triple H did.
Yeah. That being said, we haven't mentioned it, but Survivor Series is Raw versus SmackDown versus NXT. So rumors
and
rumor is the rumor is the main event might be a War Games match.
Oh,
so
seriously?
Team Raw, Team SmackDown, Team NXT, because we got Brock versus Ray as one of the championship matches. So that takes away one of the triple threats.
But yeah, so I know we have one War Games for sure on TakeOver with the women.
There's going to be 2 on TakeOver. There's going to be...
is that for sure, though?
It's not confirmed yet, but it's
okay, because I mean, it could be the two...
Based off the ending,
2 War Games.
Based off the ending last week with Ciampa saying he's going to war, so he's putting the title... Okay. But that's based off of last week. We'll get into that when we get to Survivor Series in a few weeks.
But I mean, the 3 matches that they have announced for Survivor Series are absolutely incredible. Like, that's matches that will bring asses to the seats. Like, it's unbelievable.
I think that's it for WWE news. There's glimmers of hope on the horizon, but I don't think anything could be as worse as the last month that they've had. Probably the worst month.
Also,
on record.
there's another thing that came up during this month is what are your feelings with about Seth Rollins? Because I mean, he's kind of been his own worst enemy.
He's done it to himself. He's made himself completely unlikable, and then trying to defend himself and make him even more unlikable. It's to borrow the analogy, it's death by 1,000 paper cuts, self-inflicted by himself.
Because I mean, I'm still a big Seth Rollins fan. I think he's the best. He's one of the best workers in the company. And he shows it every time, but I mean,
they've asked way too much of him. They've asked way too much of him because they've basically.
And he's a WWE guy, so I mean, he's loyal. He's allowed to say that he's the best wrestler in the world because he is a WWE guy, and that's the kind of thing. So I'm all for the whole jabbing at the different company and doing that kind of stuff because that's kind of fun. But I mean, to blame fans for how Vince McMahon portrays him in a certain light that is not likable and is not getting the reactions that he is supposed to be bringing in, it's not the fans' fault.
They've moved him into the Roman's position from a few years ago.
Exactly, and that's all. And that's not at Roman's fault. That's not Seth's fault. That's all Vince's fault because that's how he feels faces the big baby faces should be. Seth has all the potential, has all the tools to be the top guy and actually be likable, but I don't know who's going into his ear. I don't know if he doesn't feel like he can say the things he can to Vince to say, like, okay, I wouldn't do it that way, I would want to do it this way, like the kind of like how Daniel Bryan has that spot, and I'm sure Roman has that spot too. I don't know why Seth isn't doing that. I wonder if that's maybe Triple H kind of telling him, like, just do what the old man says for now.
Yeah, I don't
know. We'll try and figure it out later on. But I mean, it sucks. Like, it really sucks. I mean, the beginning of the year, Seth was our big beacon of hope that we can get the kind of WWE show that we want, and he was giving it to us.
Oh, even
and now
take that back from even a year ago when Roman left to do his cancer thing.
Yeah.
Seth was thrust into that spotlight,
and he was delivering. He was giving us exactly what we've been yearning for, is a babyface we can get behind who can do the stuff. It's just been the bad booking over and over again that has sucked the life out of him.
Since about Stomping Grounds is when it got real bad. Ever since June, he's just been in a complete nosedive and hasn't been able to pull up.
Yeah. So, I mean, we had that great match with him and AJ. That was a really cool rivalry that we could have gone into, and then Baron Corbin just got catapulted into that spot, and we just got that for 3 months. It's just been, it sucks, and it really sucks, and I hate that he's blaming fans of being fickle and all this kind of stuff. It's like, well, what do you expect? This is what we're being presented.
Yeah.
Like, you're not coming off as a face. Like, you're cowering in fear from your opponent that's a big horror buff. Like, give me a break. You should be standing defiant against it, not screaming like a little girl in the corner. And your finisher is ineffective. Oh yeah,
that's another conversation. For another
it really,
day.
really sucks.
We've been going half an hour on just WWE news, so let's move into AEW finally, because this is the Full Gear preview show. But we've had AEW for 5 shows now, 6 shows, 5.
Mm-hmm. What have you been thinking about AEW Dynamite?
This is before we get it. This is literally AEW Dynamite thoughts. What's my note for this? I was gonna. I haven't been completely blown away. I thought last week was their worst show to date. It didn't really click with me. The end of the tag team match just was kind of like, it was clearly rushed. They were running out of TV time, and I think the week before was the time limit draw, or was it?
Yes.
Yeah. So that was like that whole show there. That whole show, there's something seemed off about that show to me. I don't know what it was. There was some entertaining bits, but like I haven't been completely blown away. I think it's just because they're focusing on 4 storylines really, and they haven't really had a chance to expand the roster a little bit yet. Because all basically the expanding of the roster has been relegated to AEW Dark, which I have not seen yet at all. So. Basically, it's been the 4 storylines, and 2 of them, and most of them interweave with each other. It hasn't blown me. Also, I've given it 5 weeks. I'm not a fan of the whole wins and losses record thing. That being shoved down our throats and stuff. Because I'm tired of the talking point, wins and losses matter. I'm tired of that talking point being. I'm also not thrilled with. The whole point of the judges thing for the title match. Just. It's a 60-minute time limit draw. If Jericho and Cody go 60 minutes, clearly Jericho deserves to have the championship by default. If almost 50-year-old Jericho can put on an hour-long match, so there's no need to have judges on the side. But it's been good. Nothing blown me away yet because they haven't really expanded the storylines yet. But yeah, it's been good, but not like they've kind of created this like cult-like atmosphere, where the crowd is like super into everything, whether it's good or not.
I've been enjoying what I've been able to see, because again, I can't watch it live, so I have to watch it on highlights. The match quality has always been fantastic, and that's always been good. The thing that I've been very weary about and kind of annoyed is the pacing of each episode is really, really weird.
Yeah,
the
second episode.
And the way they.
When the introduction of the Inner Circle, that whole episode, everything just flowed from one segment to another.
And I think the week afterwards, when Cody did the attack the Inner Circle in that skybox or whatever. Yeah. Like that was the highlight of the episode. But then I heard that was like the ending of the first hour. There was still a whole other hour worth of show. After that, and that kind of just got relegated to side notes. So I thought that was very odd booking, odd pacing in the show, and then the booking in general of the shows of some of the matches. Like I said from day one that I thought Private Party was going to come up with the win for the tag team championships because I think they were going to beat the Bucks, and lo and behold, that happened. But then that huge win kind of goes away because they get beat in the second round by the Lucha Bros,
which was a fantastic match. But it
was a fantastic match. But then it's like, well, that now that Bucks win has kind of just been pushed away because I mean, you think that they would have lasted a little bit longer if they lasted till maybe like the semifinals, and sure, like yeah, then they went as far as they could with that huge win. But I mean, just a lot of the booking decisions has just been kind of off. So I don't see their long-term thinking on a lot of this stuff. So it's been very, very confusing. It's kind of disheartening to think that you want to get these guys over, and then they kind of just don't get it earned.
Well, the one storyline that has had the most consistency is the Jericho Cody storyline.
Oh yeah,
the Moxley Omega thing. They've barely interacted, like outside of like that one tag match.
It's mostly now it's been Pac that's been interacting with both of them, and that's been like it's kind of like the Moxley Omega match has kind of been an afterthought. You're thinking more about like this should be a triple threat match now, because all three of these guys have been so closely involved in each other's storyline, and like now you're going into Full Gear, and you don't know who you're cheering for right now.
Yeah, and Omega's character switches from week to week. It seems like one couple weeks he's like this gone insane crazy person, then the next week he's just normal again, and then he just needed a hug from his friends. Well, it
seems like who he is on Dynamite is completely different than who he is on Being the Elite. It's like two very different characters, and you're just kind of like, well, you'd think that Being the Elite would kind of be like the backstage stuff that you wouldn't normally see on TV, but it still counts as canon.
And
it just seems like it's two very separate things.
And that's the thing. There's the lack of backstage stuff is because you can use the backstage to expand your universe and stuff, and like there's been really nothing with like backstage stuff so Kenny just comes off as inconsistent from week to week. Like Jericho Cody, we get there. Pac is a crazy person. Moxley is a crazy person. Like we know, like the only one that doesn't really like have like anything going from is Omega, because his thing just shifts from week to week. Like I know, like if you're like a casual fan, you have no idea why this person is so popular, because you don't really know who his character is. You have to be like a die-hard Kenny Omega fan to understand what his character is. Like
because I mean, like someone like you and me who have followed Kenny Omega, and we're trying to tell our friends like, oh, you got to watch Kenny Omega. He's fucking fantastic. You watch him here and here. And if you don't mention anything from New Japan, you just have him watching on AEW, you're only going to see him. Oh yeah, he's a great wrestler. But other than that, like, what is he? I don't think. It just seems like these guys aren't booking their performers to give them any kind of like character development, and that's the basis of any kind of show, whether it's sports entertainment or a sitcom or a drama. You gotta care for the people you're watching.
Yeah, that's.
And I think that there isn't enough emphasis on that. Yeah, that's the one thing that you might gripe about WWE being just a soap opera, but they know how to get those reactions from the fans, because they try at least to give you something to grasp onto for their performers.
Yeah, and that's like I said. I think I mentioned this back at the All In thing. This has been my problem with Kenny Omega since he's won the IWGP title in Japan. Since the G1 last year, the G1 last year was his quest to be the very best, and then when he lost it, he just kind of lost all of his character, because I think anything since the G1 last year has been very confusing for Kenny Omega's character motivations and stuff. And that's why I have an issue with Kenny Omega and his current incarnation. And I mentioned that at the All In, so if you want to listen to my thoughts on that, just go listen to the All In show, because I'm not going to rehash the same arguments over and over again. But yeah, it's just that's the the Bucks. We know who their characters are, because Santana Ortiz, we know who they are. They're Jericho's lackeys, but they're a really good tag team if you followed them in Impact and stuff. Hangman Page, he's been basically, we know Hangman Page. Pac, we know Pac.
We know Pac. I don't think we know much about Hangman at all. He just seems like a cowboy.
We'll get to Hangman. We'll get to Hangman. Jericho is Jericho.
Yeah, he's been given a lot of
this is
character
like the
depth.
25th incarnation of Chris Jericho. Cody Rhodes, we know who Cody Rhodes is, and everybody knows Jon Moxley, because this is just a hyper version of what the Dean Ambrose character could have been. Yeah, so let's
again. the characters that we know, they've actually given us the chance to be actually to know them and know what their motivations are.
Mm-hmm.
Other than that, yeah, like I don't even think Kenny's been on the mic, even in the ring, since Dynamite has come on.
No, he had that weird video game thing last week.
Yeah, I mean, if you didn't know, I didn't even know what the hell that was. So I was like,
I have
okay,
no idea what that was. Anyway, let's get into the card. I guess this was announced a few hours ago during AEW Dark when it premiered. B. Priestley and Britt Baker are going to fight at the pay-per-view. So that was announced. But the 4 matches we have highlighted are the 4 that we were probably going to talk about anyway. Let's start with the Young Bucks versus Santana and Ortiz. One of the interweaving things between the Elite and the Inner Circle. This is pretty much this is going to be a fantastic tag team match.
I don't think you can fault any of the matches to be less than amazing on any of this card.
I think
that's a given.
I have a kind of a guess what the ongoing story of the night's going to be, and it's not going to be a good night for the Elite.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
So I see Santana and Ortiz picking up the victory here.
They don't need the win, and since they've already lost in AEW, I don't know if they have the Ortiz and them haven't even had a tag team match.
Oh, they have. They had a weird squash match a few years ago. A few weeks ago.
Okay.
A few weeks ago, they had a squash match.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, the first squash.
Yeah.
The first development talent or enhancement talent.
Because they had a squash match, and then they were on the stage just when Jericho with the pre-packaged video challenging the Bucks on behalf of Santana Ortiz.
Yes. Okay, I remember now.
That was that.
Yeah, I think this is.
And then they were doing on stage was the best.
I wonder if this will be the opener. Start off hot.
I think the women's match might be the opener. I expect tomorrow, because we're recording this Tuesday and there's one more show. I expect tomorrow there's going to be a couple more matches out of the card. I expect like a tag title match, rematch for SCU and the Lucha Brothers, just the way it ended last week. So I expect a couple more matches at least, because they are charging $50 again. So I'm sure they're going to want to give as much money for the card as possible. So hopefully it's not 4 hours long. I will not be ordering it live. I'm not dropping $50 on this one. I will watch it the next day.
Yeah, we got Christmas to think of right now, so we got to save the pennies where we can.
This is a weird pay-per-view because it's like it's basically a month after TV started and they have one pay-per-view in. They basically have more. They basically almost have the equal amount of pay-per-views and TV shows together in one calendar year. Because I believe tomorrow is episode 6, and if you count Fyter Fest and Fight for the Fallen as pay-per-views, even though they were free for us, but had to pay for them in the UK and stuff. Double or Nothing, Fyter Fest, Fight for the Fallen, all in, or for All Out and Full Gear. That's 5 pay-per-views to 6 TV shows. I got Santana Ortiz. Who do you got?
Santana Ortiz.
Okay. Moving on. Let's talk about Hangman Page versus Pac. I think Page is turning on the Elite. They've been planting the seeds. I don't think he's not gonna align with the Inner Circle, but I think he's gonna cost one of them a match, just to prove a point that he's tired of being taken granted for, and just go off on his own. The signs are there for him. That's
signs that we've seen through being the Elite, not so much on the AEW show. So I wonder if that's actually gonna even be a factor in it. But I mean, I think that Page needs the win, but again, it doesn't really kind of make sense because you kind of want the Elite to kind of have a bad sweep.
Yeah, it's going to be a bad night for the Elite. So I think this loss to Pac will be like the thing that sends him over the edge. Because basically he was banded at All Out because he asked for people to be in his corner, and nobody went into his corner, and he's basically been ignored by the Elite except for like tag matches here and there, as like the guy that you think will take the pin. So I think Pac's gonna win, and I think this will send him over the edge. If they're doing this right, they would make this a squash match, have just Pac absolutely obliterate Page, and then just have him send over the edge.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one too. But I mean, I do think that, yeah, you know what? I'll stick with Pac winning because I mean, yeah, I think a loss would help him better if he were to turn, and then we can save MJF's turn for a lot longer. Because I mean, yeah, MJF has kind of been
Because that was another feud that they were
here and there.
teasing as well back at Double or Nothing, MJF versus Hangman Page.
Yeah, I wonder if maybe with Hangman ditching the elite, maybe they'll promote MJF to elite status.
Yeah, because in my theory, he would cost Cody the match, because Cody was the last one to kind of like, if you watched Being the Elite a couple weeks ago, Cody was kind of the last person to like kind of mention that Kenny has his own locker room, Cody, the Bucks have their own locker room,
Yeah.
and like he was just listing off all these things that the rest of the elite has and he doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, just kind of rubbing it in his face almost. So I think that might be a loss to Pac. I think he might cost Cody, and then that would elevate MJF, and then they can feud for the next little while because crowds seem to love MJF even though he's an asshole.
So you might as well ride that train while you can.
Might as well ride it till that
Cause I mean, there was that
trail.
Yeah, because there was that ending that dark showcase that they did with Cody and the Bucks in the ring and MJF with a scarf with Matt Jackson and all that kind of stuff. That funny bit that the Elite did, and Hangman wasn't even there. So I mean, that could be a cool kind of little thing that they could use to motivate the heel turn. Because yeah, that'll be the big heel turn that we can get, and that can get the crowd invested into Hangman. Yeah, so I guess we're on agreement again.
Yeah, this is kind of a predictable show and somewhat, but still, it was more of just kind of, I said we would do it just because I kind of wanted to talk about what we've thought of the TV show so far, that we've had like a proper build to a pay-per-view now without having to watch everything online. So let's move on to the championship match. Le Champion, Chris Jericho versus Cody.
Well, Moxley and Omega.
I'm saving that for last because that's probably going to go on last. Because it's an unsanctioned match.
Okay.
They've called it a lights out match because it's an unsanctioned match now, so it doesn't count. So I think that's going to go on last because it's Kenny Omega. They're going to put him on last. Yeah, because Moxley had a. Well, let's switch up. We'll talk Moxley Omega. So this is an unsanctioned match now, and Moxley cut that promo last week, just basically calling out AEW for just basically protecting Kenny Omega. Because he's their boy. So this is unsanctioned now, so that means weapons will more than likely be involved. Did you see Moxley's promo from last week?
Bits and pieces of it. I didn't get to catch a lot of it, but I mean that's what we expect from Moxley.
Did you catch the gist?
The gist, yeah, pretty much.
He's pissed with management because he came to AEW. It seems like they promised him stuff, and they're putting him into a box as this hardcore wrestler and stuff. He wants to be like the top guy.
Who wants to be best belt machine?
Which, if you think about it, outside of Jericho, Moxley's probably their most well-known name.
Yep.
For the casual fan. Yeah, this build is just, there's been very little to no interaction with them.
Which you would think would be good because it kind of makes that anticipation that these two are going to clash finally, make it so much better. But again, what we said before, with Pac kind of being in the middle, it just seems like
we got that
Pac should be involved in this match.
We got it at the beginning of the.
But that's what I mean. Like, yeah, you got that initial. You had the first that they were supposed to fight, however long ago, for All Out. So then you have that whole thing that now that match got canceled. Now then you had Moxley getting involved during the debut show, and they've been kind of separated. Like, some of the best feuds that we've seen in wrestling beforehand was just that these two guys are in a blood feud, but they haven't touched at all, like barely at all, or even interact with each other. But you just hear from the competitors saying this and saying this about them, and just using their words and use their promos to build this match until you finally start to see the very first interaction with them at that match. That's the kind of build that you want for a show. But it just feels, that'd be fantastic to get. But what we've been getting has been kind of a three-way feud going on with Pac being involved. So it kind of muddies. That's what I said. It kind of gets confused. It's like, oh wait, don't you think Pac should be involved with this because he's been so intertwined with the two of them? And then the fact that we don't know Because personally, I don't know who I'm supposed to be rooting for because it seems like Moxley's kind of a face right now. Kenny is a face from what they've shown on AEW Dynamite, but on Being the Elite, he's kind of acting like a heel. And I'm sure AEW Dynamite want to convey Moxley as a heel, but it's very, very confusing.
People aren't gonna boo Moxley right off the bat, especially after
God, no.
the way he left WWE and just showed up in AEW.
He hasn't done anything to show that he's a heel. He attacked Jericho. He's attacked Jericho. He's being a badass. He's being a Stone Cold. He's just bucking authority. Mm-hmm. So they've been portraying him as a face. I think coming in on Sunday, I think that has to be that the quote unquote double turn. Have Moxley be the face, and then you have Kenny be the heel.
Did you pitch the idea of Kenny as like this wrestling zealot that basically looks down on everybody and stuff? That would be a very effective heel character if they actually portrayed him as a heel character or any kind of character other side. This is Kenny Omega guy.
But I mean, I think maybe that's what they're portraying him as. The announcing team is saying like, oh yeah, Kenny Omega is this, Kenny Omega is this. But again, that's the commentators portraying that. We haven't seen Kenny portray that at all. Mm-hmm. He's just been kind of like, oh yeah, this silent, great wrestler, but he has no character development whatsoever. Mm-hmm. But we're getting the character development on Being the Elite, but the two aren't cohesive enough to make that.
Nope.
To make those connections.
It's canon, but it's not canon at the same time.
Exactly. It's just very, very odd. Like, I'm so excited for this match, but it's kind of just enjoying it in a vacuum.
I got Moxley winning.
Yeah, Moxley has to go.
There's no reason to have Moxley job out to Omega at this point.
And then for the fact that we get more story potential coming out of that than with Kenny winning, because it just means it's another singles loss for Kenny. So I mean, then we can get into that pitch that I made.
Another like big match singles loss because he's because in the last couple
he
weeks
won against Joey.
Because in the last couple of weeks he's been portrayed as like just regular old Kenny Omega again. All right.
The latest high profile loss, and I think we can get to that point where it's Kenny with a loss of confidence, and that's where he can get unhinged, and we can get that I don't give a shit Kenny Omega, and I don't give a shit about the Elite. I don't give a shit about anything else. I want to do things on my own terms, and be that zealot.
All right, let's talk about the match that has had the most storyline build: Chris Jericho versus Cody Rhodes. Yeah,
if AEW were booking all their matches like they've been booking this thing, we would be having like the most anticipated pay-per-view in a long, long time.
Mm-hmm. I think that's the problem with they're just relying on. That was the problem with NXT and AEW for the first few weeks. They were just relying like, here's wrestling match after wrestling match after wrestling match. Like NXT lost their like cohesive storytelling thing because they were just trying to compete with AEW by just putting something up against their other thing. It was very reactionary. They've gotten back to more what NXT used to be.
Especially with Finn and his turn.
Yeah, this is I'd be fine with either one of them winning because Cody's an interesting story because you've referred to him as basically their Hulk Hogan, which he's getting the biggest reactions out of the crowd and stuff because he's telling the most compelling stories. But I'm not ready to give up on Jericho as the dickhead champion just quite yet.
God, no. I'll say this right now. Jericho's winning.
Oh, yeah.
I think they're telegraphing this to show that the odds are stacked against Jericho with the judges. I think the judges are just a red herring. I don't think this thing's going to go to an hour. I think it's going to be...
If it goes an hour, hands off to standing ovation for Chris Jericho.
Well, I'm sure they'll play around with it to make it look that they'll protect Jericho from having to work a full hour match. So, but I mean, I think it's just there just to kind of get people to think that it's going to go an hour and that there's going to be some sort of play. There's going to be some sort of a play that Cody will make so that he can kind of guarantee himself as a champion with the judges. So, I mean, you could throw in Dean Malenko and DDT with...
Because I think Jericho's going to have Hager out there. So
Mm-hmm.
this is where I think Hangman Page will come into effect. Like, I see like Hager and like MGF like taking each other out or something, and then going to the back, and then Hangman coming out for like support because there's other members of the Inner Circle probably lying around. They'll try to interfere, and then Hangman will show up to even out the odds and just cost Cody the match somehow, just leaving the Elite.
Yeah, because then you can go into a Cody versus Hangman kind of like right away as like the next kind of feud you can go into, and then you can have Moxley move into the main event storyline against Jericho if they make Moxley a face.
Yeah.
But again, you also want to keep the Inner Circle versus the Elite storyline kind of going because it's still really in its infant stages and it hasn't matured yet.
Because also taking Page out of it, then it would give the Inner Circle the man advantage and stuff. Because then they would have to elevate people like MGF who probably you shouldn't trust, and then like so it creates a whole bunch of offshooting smaller branches of storylines that can go out here. Because if you have Page leave the Elite and just go off in his own, you can create a separate thing for Page as a solo guy. Then you got continuing stations for the Inner Circle and the Elite and stuff. There's so much here to play with. There's also the interesting story having Cody, if Cody somehow wins, having him try to balance being an EVP as well as the top guy in the company and stuff. Clearly if you've watched any of the backstage, he's like sitting at the monitor and like running the show and stuff as well.
Yeah.
So that'd be an interesting storyline to play out as well. But it kind of also plays onto your storyline from, what was it, Double or Nothing, that you pitched the reverse authority figure, the reverse authority storyline, where Cody and the Bucks and they're the authority, and then the Inner Circle is the heel group of fighting the authority.
Yeah, which we're basically getting right now anyways.
This is what I'm saying. I was trying to remember when you pitched it. Yeah, there's so many interesting storylines that can come out of this main event, but I see Jericho winning.
Yeah, he has to win.
Le Champion still reigns supreme.
So yeah, because the fact that he's still pushing some great merch, he is getting mentioned on social media all the time about what he says and what he does. They can still ride this train for a while because I don't know when their next pay-per-view will be. So I mean, you can ride this train all the way into the new year because, what else are you gonna do?
So it looks like we're in agreement for all the matches.
Yeah.
Which, like I said, it was a pretty predictable card.
But again, we don't know if they're gonna buck the kind of trends. Yeah, the only thing that I'm on the fence about is Pac versus Hangman because I mean it could go either way, and you can tell a unique storyline. But I think they should keep Pac's winning streak going.
Thankfully, they listened to us from the beginning of the year, where we said none of the Elite should be the inaugural champions of anything. They at least followed that. Anyway, that's Full Gear. Still got one more episode of TV left, but I thought we'd do it tonight and just kind of enjoy the wrestling tomorrow without having to think about anything else. So yeah, that's Full Gear. Since I asked you how the PWA show was, I got nothing left to talk about unless you want to talk about anything else.
The only other thing I can think of is we haven't talked much about NXT in this past month. Like they've been doing they did some great stellar matches at the beginning. Now we're finally getting into some real meaty storyline. So Balor, this heel turn with his amazing heel turn, real rock and roller again, which I'm so psyched about to see again.
Yeah, after a couple like rocky like few weeks of just trying to counter AEW, they've kind of settled back into the groove again. They've been able to use that expanded time frame really effectively. The only thing I'm concerned about in the next couple weeks is trying to mix the War Games build with the Survivor Series build at the same time.
Yes,
it's the only thing I'm concerned about because this is the first time it's ever happened.
And see, that might be the thing where I'm thinking that if you're booked for Survivor Series, you may not be booked for War Games. They might keep a couple of those guys off both shows just to kind of be able to tell the stories that they want to tell.
Well, Shane is the captain. Shane is the captain of the War Games match, and then in the Triple Threat the next night. So I don't know.
I think there's more than enough people in those matches to kind of alleviate some of the pressure for Shayna.
Mm-hmm.
So that might help. But I mean,
I think that's why
I don't know what they're gonna do. I don't know what they're gonna do with Adam Cole for Survivor Series.
I don't know. It sounds like it's
that's the one thing I don't know what they're gonna do.
At least the women's one, it sounds like it's a traditional 5-on-5 War Games thing. So that does take. There's 9 other people in there that's taking the all the pressure off Shayna for the next night. And then I've heard there's rumors.
So, yeah, but that's what I mean about the whole thing with Adam Cole. Like, is he going to be in the NXT Championship match on Takeover, and then is he going to be in another singles match next night? Like, that's the kind of thing that I'm curious about.
I think it'll become a little clearer.
We haven't heard anything about. Can I come tomorrow?
Yeah, I think it'll be a little clearer tomorrow.
Because I think, like, do you pull the trigger on Ciampa versus Cole, and then have whatever is happening at Survivor Series overshadow that?
Mm-hmm. I don't know.
Because if you have Adam Cole in the in both nights, then it kind of already telegraphs that Adam Cole's going to win. Because if you have the NXT champion in a match at Survivor Series, you kind of keep that accolade on him until much later.
Especially if it's rumored that, like I said, it's rumored that the Survivor Series match will be a War Games match. Mm-hmm. So Team NXT, Team Raw, Team SmackDown. So I don't know. We'll find out.
Yeah. So because it won't be. Yeah, because then it can't be the Undisputed Era because the tag teams already has a match on that night, and who knows if they're going to do a triple threat with Roddy, AJ, and Nakamura, which I'm already pre-coming with the thought of that match.
Speaking of Roderick Strong,
because oh my God.
He was in the building Friday night. You could have booked the First Blood's chop only match between him and Daniel Bryan. That would have been great. Just 20 minutes.
You were pushing that so hard. Pushing that so hard on Twitter. It's hilarious.
Just 20 minutes of them just standing in the ring, just chopping each other. That would have been great.
Chopping each other to death.
And then Walter comes in and runs in and then starts chopping.
Oh my God.
And then you would have heard, what is that sound? And it's just me going, yeah!
You'd sound like Saliva on Batista's theme song.
Yeah! Anyway, it should be an interesting next couple weeks. But we will get to that.
Yeah, like it's invigorated me for wrestling again. This month has been soul draining.
Yeah, let's sit back and enjoy the next couple of weeks, because the next time we will be joining you for wrestling is in a couple of weeks for Survivor Series. We'll talk War Games as well, because it's been a while since we've talked Takeover. So we'll do half Survivor Series, half War Games. Also on the docket, we got the Marvel wrap up thing. We'll talk about that. It's just all about scheduling. Me and Bobby will have a quick discussion after we get off air about the scheduling on that. It sounds like we're going to talk about some Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Celebrating the 35th anniversary this year.
Which I totally blanked on. It's been kind of that flew under the radar.
Well, I think it was back in June, so I mean...
Well, it still flew under the radar. So we'll talk about that. We got...
I think we were talking about doing a Stranger Things talk.
There's a whole bunch of stuff.
We were talking about doing our annual airing of grievances at the end of the year.
I was going to talk to you about at the end of the year. Let's do a best and worst of wrestling, because we've spent the majority of this podcast this year talking about. So we'll do that at the end of the year. A whole bunch of things on the docket. It's just all about scheduling it now. If you listen to the last episode, I'm kind of debating bringing the Fuck the Academy show back in the new year. So I'm debating that one. So that might be on the docket as well.
I say you just do it. Don't debate it. Just do it.
Well, I got to see some more movies then. Anyway.
Well, that's what Christmas break is all about.
Yeah. I saw Joker a couple weeks ago. So anyway.
Well, we can talk about Joker too if you want.
Well, that's another day. Bobby, where can people find your good shit?
There's a couple things you can find my good shit. First, you can find me at radpencils.com. That's where you can find my Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube links all through that channel. You can request commissions and go to my shop to find some art prints that are still going to be available. It's going to be changing up in the new year. There's going to be some new, fresh kind of things that are going to be happening. I'm in the process of planning all that. You can also find some of my good shit at bookstores and comic book stores right now. You can find the Visions of the Upside Down Stranger Things art book available everywhere. You can find it if you're in Canada. You can find it at Chapters Indigo. You can find it on Amazon. I saw it at a couple comic book stores. It has my artwork featured in the Stranger Things art book. So yeah, you can find that, and you can have a piece of Stranger Things and a piece by me, all wrapped in one very nice hardcover art book. And yeah, other than that, you can find me here on the podcast or doing a video on YouTube.
Of course, the Wasting Your Time podcast can be found on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and a whole bunch of other platforms. So just search Wasting Your Time. Just like and subscribe. Just listen to the show. We're going to be finishing the year strong. Yes, we've done a lot of wrestling episodes this year, but we'll finish the goal is to try to be out every other week, and we'll rotate between wrestling and our regular scheduled time-wasting shit. So we'll finish the year strong. But yeah, that's it for the show today. We will see you in a couple weeks for Survivor Series for the Wasting Your Time podcast. My co-host has been Bobby Duke. Thanks, Bobby. And
No blemos.
I have been your host, John Wilson, and we'll see you next time.